Wondrous Roots, your health from the ground up. My name is Becky Rebecca Montrone, have a practice here in Keene called Wondrous Roots. I'm a holistic healthcare practitioner with a degree in holistic nutrition. I work with clients here in my office in Keene, New Hampshire, 103 Roxbury Street, up on the 3rd floor, or via teleconference. I work with people with health conditions of all kinds and people of all ages, and we also have a full shop of nutritional supplements and featuring the things that I make myself as an herbalist, have formulated and make, and and many other supplements that I use with people and make available to the general public. We also have an online store, shopwondrousroots.com. You can reach out to me at 603-439-2603 or shopwondrousroots.com, contact us, or wondrousroots.org. And I appreciate that, you guys who are with me. I had muted myself when I was clearing my throat and not unmuted. So anyway, I'm going to dig right in talking about alcohol and its impact on our health. I'm going to share my screen and go to my page. Okay, and you guys are all there. If you want to participate, type in the chat, type in the Q&A, or raise your hand and I'll call on you. And here we go, alcohol and health. And then I say here, for most of my adult life, I've been an enthusiastic wine drinker, hardly going a day, letting a day go by without it. Then one early spring day, nearly 2 years ago, I decided to do a 2-week liver cleanse, so took what I intended to be a temporary wine hiatus. I felt so fabulous during that time, and in some ways, I would never have suspected that I've never had another sip. So like every annoying former smoker, and having investigated a bit further into the science, I am now warning of the health dangers of alcohol consumption. Does that mean you can't be optimally healthy unless you become a teetotaler? No, but absolutely not. But you should be aware of how chronic regular alcohol consumption can be impacting your health, perhaps in ways you never considered before. Okay, so I put together this page over the Thanksgiving holiday weekend. I had a blast. I didn't do a program last week, as you guys know, because I decided just to stay at the lake and enjoy that. But I put together this page as I was enjoying it, because this is what I like to do when you're watching Christmas movies and stuff like that. I love working on stuff like this and the quiet and peacefulness of it. So in any case, we'll dig in. It says here, the harmful use of alcohol is a worldwide problem. It's been estimated that alcohol abuse represents the world's 3rd largest risk factor for disease and disability. It's a causal factor of 60 types of diseases and injuries, and a concurrent cause of at least 200 others. Just let me say, Susan, yes, I know, because when I shared my screen, I took the opportunity to clear my throat, and I have a mute button on my microphone, and I just didn't unmute it. I've had much larger disasters with that snafu before, but anyway, all's well now. So here, alcohol disease, the liver and beyond. And so again, I can do this. So just going to read the abstract here. The harmful use of alcohol is a worldwide problem. It's been estimated that alcohol abuse represents the world's 3rd largest risk factor for disease and disability. It's a causal factor of 60 types of diseases and injuries, and a concurrent cause of at least 200 others. Liver is the main organ responsible for metabolizing ethanol. Thus, it has been considered for a long time the major victim of the harmful use of alcohol. Ethanol is bioactive products. Its bioactive products, acetaldehyde acetate, fatty acid ethanol esters, ethanol protein adducts, have been regarded as hepato or liver toxins that directly stimulate and directly exert their toxic effect on the liver. A similar mechanism has been postulated for the alcohol-related pancreatic damage. Alcohol and its metabolites directly injure acinar cells and elicit stellate cells to produce and deposit extracellular matrix, thus triggering the necrosis fibrosis sequence that finally leads to atrophy and fibrosis, morphological hallmarks of alcoholic chronic pancreatitis. Even less attention has been paid to the upper and lower gastrointestinal tract, right? Ethanol produces harmful effects by inducing direct damage to the mucosa of the esophagus and the stomach, modification of the sphincterial pressure and impairment of motility, and alteration of gastric acid output in the intestine. Ethanol can damage the intestinal mucosa directly or indirectly by altering the resident microflora and impairing the mucosal immune system, notably disruption of the intestinal mucosal barrier of the small and large intestine contribute to liver damage. This review summarizes the most clinically relevant alcohol-related diseases of the digestive tract, okay, focusing on the pathogenic mechanisms of the liver, pancreas, and the GI tract. So we're going to get a little bit more into that in a bit, but alcohol in human health, what is the evidence? Yeah, alcohol consumption has long been a part of human culture. It has been, and we're going to get into those kind of paradoxical things like, but what about red wine, the benefits of health benefits of red wine? And for years, I knew that it was shown that people who drank in moderation had less Alzheimer's than people who abstained. And so that was like one of my good, like healthy reasons for my own regular alcohol use. But we're going to find some flip sides to that here. So anyway, overall, light and moderate alcohol consumption up to 14 grams per day for women and up to 28 grams for men may be associated with reduced mortality, mainly due to reduced risk for cardiovascular disease and type 2 diabetes. However, chronic heavy alcohol consumption and alcohol abuse lead to alcohol use disorder, which results in physical and mental diseases such as liver disease, pancreatitis, dementia, and various types of cancer. Again, okay, and these are all things that if you're interested in looking more, and again, they just talked about type 2 diabetes and maybe moderate use was helpful for that. We're going to see that it's not necessarily so. And we're also going to see that one of the ways that alcohol is helpful, moderate alcohol for cardiovascular, is because of its effect in lowering stress, which it can have that effect, and that can then snowball down and cascade into less stress-related cardiovascular things. So it's a complex subject, but okay. Okay, it says here, most people love the way drinking. Oh, this is a book, The Dangers of Alcohol, Break Free from the Terrible Physical and Psychological Effects. So if you find yourself in that, or maybe you want to help somebody who is, many people love the way drinking alcohol makes them feel, at least in the short term. Going out and having a few beers doesn't hurt anyone, right? Well, not exactly. Long-term consumption of alcohol can lead to liver disease, kidney disease, and numerous cancers, just to name a few. So not like cumulative, right? So year after year after year of a consistent habit of drinking regularly. What's worse, you don't have to be getting blind drunk every night to experience the negative health effects of alcohol. Alcohol is a highly addictive substance that corrupts the neuronal pathways and rewires our brain. This makes us more and more dependent on the drug that is slowly taking over our lives and killing us. So we have here alcohol-associated organ damage, the cardiac arrhythmias, cardiomyopathy, ischemic heart disease, stroke, hypertension, high blood pressure, neurologic, ischemic stroke, and hemorrhagic stroke are possible from there. Lung, acute respiratory distress syndrome, pneumonia. Yeah, it's very interesting. We'll be getting into that. Never really would have thought of alcohol affecting the lungs, really, would you? I just wouldn't. The oral cavity cancer, so tonsillar cancer, mouth cancer, esophageal cancer, as you're constantly bathing these tissues in alcohol with people who drink, regularly, and I would say on a daily basis. Liver, fatty liver, steato, fatty liver inflammation would be the steato, hepatitis, fibrosis, so the scarring of the tissue, then cirrhosis, alcohol-associated liver inflammation, and liver cancer. The gastrointestinal, beyond the oral things, the upper gastrointestinal tract, the gut leakiness, microbial dysbiosis, colorectal cancer. Muscle myopathy and muscle wasting, atrophy, also muscle problems like ataxia, gait issues, pancreas, acute pancreatitis, chronic pancreatitis. So acute pancreatitis can kill you. I had a client I worked with, I've worked with for years, and with a previous history of alcoholism, and he had a situation where his pancreas became so inflamed that it actually turned inside out, and his pancreatic enzymes started eating up his internal organs. Wow. They had to actually, open him up and perform surgery. And then he was actually the person that they finally came up in surgical practice to be able to put in a zipper for people who need to be repeatedly opened up without having to incise them every single time, cut them open with a knife. So that's an extreme example, but it is one that I happen to know personally. And it was very real. Chronic pancreatitis can cause a lot of issues, and then, of course, influencing the pancreas can now also influence your blood sugar management, right? Diabetes and metabolic syndrome, those things. Bone, reduced bone density with overuse of alcohol, impaired fracture repair. Okay, so effects of alcohol on the cardiovascular system, alcohol in the heart. Alcohol can have serious negative effects on the cardiovascular system, including hypertension, high blood pressure, arrhythmias, rhythm abnormalities, cardiomyopathy, enlargement of the heart, coronary artery disease, heart attack, and stroke. And so here, effects of alcohol on the cardiovascular system. Research has shown that regular alcohol consumption is linked to hypertension in a dose-dependent manner, while low to moderate alcohol consumption in healthy adults appears to have no acute or substantial impact on blood pressure. Chronic alcohol use can lead to hypertension. Binge drinking and chronic alcohol consumption are associated with acute arrhythmias such as AFib, even in those who have an otherwise normal heart function. In fact, there's a term, namely holiday heart syndrome, to describe acute disturbances in heart rhythm after heavy alcohol consumption over a long weekend. So alcohol use disorder in the heart. Here, the Mediterranean alcohol drinking pattern, how to moderate alcohol intake and risk of atrial inflammation in the PREDIMED study. So let's take a little gander at that. They did this whole thing. Here it says, in a high cardiovascular risk adult population, a Mediterranean alcohol consumption pattern, low to moderate red wine consumption was not associated with an increased incidence of atrial fibrillation. So again, I am not saying you can't, that it's unhealthy to have, and especially in the European, the Mediterranean way, people would typically have red wine, which is very high in resveratrol, which is very good for the heart, those antioxidants, right? With the nightly meal, and replenishing your resveratrol on a 24-hour basis is actually very healthy. So I'm not saying that there are not ways you can, people who can just elect to enjoy alcohol and wine and things like that in a responsible way when it comes to your health. They've also found that people who tend to drink moderately, so low to moderate use, tend to be more athletic and tend to, and we're going to get into a little paper that talks about that, and tend to have healthier lifestyles than, say, people who drink more than light to moderate. So that also can be, you have got other healthy lifestyle factors and they can offset, or all in all, this is taken more as part of a healthy lifestyle. Okay. Symptoms and effect, again, of alcoholism. Now we're talking that this is alcoholism, right? Brain, memory loss, mood swings, dementia, heart, we did that, muscular, pancreatitis, we talked about that, liver, lungs, blah, 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 blah. Alcohol in the liver. So every time you drink alcohol, some liver cells die. Although the liver is a robust organ that can regenerate new liver cells, drinking too much over many years can reduce its ability to regenerate cells. So, if you're a person in that camp, and again, and I said this when I was muted, so I'm going to go back and say it again because you didn't hear it. It's not that uncommon for somebody who's coming to see me for their health to say to me, I think I drink too much. And people will say, I think I started drinking more during COVID, or something like that. I think, and they'll say to me, and I'll say, and a lot of times I'll just say, just stop. Don't even say you're going to cut back, just stop, or give yourself a break. See how you feel, see how you like it, just stop. And see what you think, and very positive feedback. Anyway, again, now, but then we have, while heavy alcohol use consistently associates with liver disease, the effects of non-heavy alcohol consumption are less understood. We aimed to investigate the relationship between non-heavy alcohol use and chronic liver disease. And non-heavy alcohol use associates with liver fibrosis and non-alcoholic steatohepatitis in the Framingham Heart Study. So in this community cohort, we demonstrate that non-heavy alcohol use associates with fibrosis and non-alcohol and what is NASH? Non-alcoholic steatohepatitis after adjustment for metabolic factors. Longitudinal studies are needed to determine the benefits of moderating alcohol use to reduce liver-related morbidity and mortality. So going to this steatohepatitis, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, a lot of people will tell me, I've been told I have non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. And that doesn't mean that the person doesn't drink. And if you have non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, cutting out alcohol will help reverse your non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, if that makes any sense. I think it does, and you can follow that. I won't go that. So let's talk about the brain. What happens to your brain during alcohol use? Most of us are familiar with how alcohol affects people on the outside. However, the most dangerous part of alcohol is harder to see. It happens in the brain. So the short-term effects when you're drinking, you have a slowed nervous system, you have a feeling of euphoria, which is a lot of the reason people enjoy drinking, and then loss of memory. If you drink too much, you might have trouble remembering, what happened clearly the next day, that kind of thing, if you got bombed. Long-term effects, though, the gray matter shrinks. This we do not want. Your social behavior might change, and your critical thinking is reduced. So we don't want to do things that damage the brain. And that's super, super important. This here I thought was very interesting. This is a 15-year-old male. We're talking about 15-year-olds here. Male non-drinker. And this is highlighting brain activity. This is a 15-year-old male heavy drinker who's not drinking at the time that the imaging was taken. And you can see how much less brain activity we have going on here. So higher alcohol consumption, let's see, affects our brain, blah, 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 blah. However, a recent British study seems to have bad news for moderate drinkers, indicating that even moderate drinking is associated with drinking shrinkage in areas of the brain involved in cognition and learning. Higher alcohol consumption over the 30-year follow-up was associated with increased odds of hippocampal atrophy in a dose-dependent fashion. So that's Alzheimer's disease affects the hippocampus. While those consuming over 30 units a week were at the highest risk compared with abstainers, even those drinking moderately had 3 times the odds of right-sided hippocampal atrophy. There was no protective effect of light drinking over abstinence. Higher alcohol use was also associated with differences in corpus, because that's been an argument. And I think I said this when I was muted, so I'll go back and say it. I had read things, that studies had shown that people who drank very light to moderate on a regular basis had less Alzheimer's than teetotalers or people who abstained completely. This goes against that information. And then I thought that this was really interesting. This comes from the Daniel G.A. Men Center. Daniel G. Amen wrote the book, Making a Great Brain Greater, Making a Great Brain Greater, or Making a Good Brain Great, or something like that, years ago that I read, and talked about many things. But he was the one who started this spectrometry imaging of the brain to show what changes are going on in the brain to help understand and get at the root of different mental illnesses or different things going on. And it's really quite remarkable because I did send a client to them years ago, and the SPECT imaging was really revealing. But here we have, is alcohol a health food? This is on 2 to 4 glasses of wine a day. This is healthy. This is the moderate, so-called moderate drinker. I'm sorry, but you can just keep that as far as I'm concerned. And then we have the role of alcohol drinking in Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease, and ALS. Says here, neurodegenerative diseases such as Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, ALS increase as the population ages around the world. Environmental factors also play an important role in most cases. Alcohol consumption exists extensively, and it acts as one of the environmental factors that promotes those neurodegenerative diseases. The brain is a major target for the actions of alcohol, and heavy alcohol consumption has long been associated with brain damage. Chronic alcohol intake leads to elevated glutamate-induced excitotoxicity, oxidative stress, and permanent neuronal damage associated with malnutrition. The relationship and contributing mechanisms of alcohol with these 3 diseases are different. Epidemiological studies have reported a reduction in the prevalence of Alzheimer's disease in individuals who drink low amounts of alcohol. Those were the things that I was looking at prior. Low or moderate concentrations of ethanol protect against beta amyloid toxicity in hippocampal neurons, but excessive amounts of alcohol increase the accumulation of alpha beta and tau phosphorylation. So there's a little tiny line there, right? You've got, if you were going to look at those, low or moderate concentrations prevent against the beta amyloid toxicity of Alzheimer's in the hippocampal neurons, but excessive use causes excess. So, yeah, you got to figure that out for yourself if that's where you are with that. But I'm going to just stick with my own approach. Alcohol has been suggested to either be protective or not associated with Parkinson's disease. However, experimental studies indicate that chronic heavy alcohol consumption may have dopamine neurotoxic effects through the induction of the cytochrome P450-21, blah, 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 and an increased amount of blah, 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 irrelevant to Parkinson's disease. The findings on the association between alcohol consumption and ALS are inconsistent. A recent population-based study suggests that alcohol drinking seems to not influence the risk of developing ALS. Additional research is needed, blah, 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 blah. Okay. What are the effects of drinking alcohol every day? Many people enjoy having a few drinks after work or on the weekend, but what happens when drinking becomes a daily habit? The effects of drinking alcohol every day can be damaging to both your physical and mental health. In this article, we will explore the potential consequences of daily alcohol consumption, and you can go there and see that they have some bullet lists here. Physical effects, we talked about liver, increased risk of cancer, and I have some more studies related to that. But it is it is related to cancer. One thing I did find of a woman who was diagnosed with a very early stage, if you could even call it, breast cancer, and had lumpectomy. And one thing she always loved to do was, after she finished work, was getting ready for dinner, was to have a glass of red wine. And believe it or not, all of this that I'm saying, and then there's all this stuff about alcohol and breast cancer. There's all of this kind of thing. There's actually evidence that indicates that having a glass of red wine a day was actually breast cancer preventive. And I did find that for her and encouraged her to, if she wanted to go back to doing that, to do it. So here I am. At least I'm not like a all or nothing kind of person. Might be for myself, but for someone else, if we can say my concern with my red wine, my glass of red wine a day was breast cancer, and I can find that actually that has been shown to be the opposite with the red wine compared to other forms of alcohol, then fine, then that's a decision she can make based on that information. that I provided. Certain types of cancer, according to drinking alcohol, breast cancer in women and colon cancer in both men and women. The more alcohol consumed on a daily basis, the higher the risk of developing these cancers. Alcohol is broken down into acetaldehyde, a toxic chemical that can damage DNA and other genetic material in cells. This damage can lead to mutations that promote cancer growth. Additionally, alcohol can cause chronic inflammation, which also can contribute to the development of cancer. It's important to note that even moderate alcohol consumption has been linked to an increased risk of certain cancers. Therefore, it's recommended that individuals limit their intake as much as possible. And again, cancer is a big problem today. A lot of people have cancer. I've had more cancer clients in the past few months than probably over several years, that I'm seeing myself in my practice. And a lot of times people being diagnosed right off with cancers that have advanced they're very advanced when they get diagnosed, much more so than they usually are. So something's going on with that, and can speculate about reasons for that. But cancer is something to be to act preventively towards the risk of getting cancer. Impaired mental effects. Alcohol as a depressant can make you feel, relaxed and kind of good initially, but eventually it actually ends up being a depressant, which means it can cause feelings of sadness and anxiety. And over time, regular alcohol use can lead to a decrease in overall well-being and an increase in symptoms of depression. Can interfere with sleep. Poor sleep can also exacerbate feelings of anxiety and depression, leading to a vicious cycle of negative emotions. Impaired judgment and decision-making, relationship problems, financial strain, risky behavior, physical dependence. Some people have a true physical dependence on alcohol. I'm not one of them. So like when I decided I was going to take my 2-week break, I never felt like, oh my gosh, I need a drink or anything like that. But some people truly do have physical addiction to alcohol. And for them, there's no question of moderation, or I'm just going to have a little bit, or I'm just going to have 1 drink a week. Or no, you can't, because there is a physical addiction. And so that's a different thing. Nutritional deficiencies. So alcohol really depletes magnesium. Alcohol really depletes your B vitamins. In fact, one of the tricks you can do if you are drinking and you want to stop this conversion of alcohol to acetaldehyde is to use vitamin B1. Vitamin B1 thiamine will help prevent that conversion. So say you are going to be at a party or something like that, and you're like, well, I do want to go to do a wedding or whatever. I do want to have a couple of drinks or whatever. Take your B1 with you in your purse or in your car or something like that. It is, a good temporary. I wouldn't say drink all you want and just keep popping your B1, but for those moments when you are going to, that's a little trick. And you will find that the alcohol doesn't affect you nearly as much, like in how you feel in your, as you're drinking. Okay, physical effects, we talked about those. Alcohol in the digestive system. Alcohol is causally associated with esophageal squamous cell cancer. So esophageal cancer, in fact, the Rockefeller, was it Reggie Rockefeller? I can't remember, but he had he died of, during the Prohibition. The Rockefellers had their places, their speakeasies where you could go and drink. And he was a heavy, heavy alcoholic, and actually died of esophageal cancer. And so again, you have to just think about alcohol being constantly touching and bathing all of these mucosal tissues in the mouth, in the throat, in the esophagus. And then gastric cancer, you get further down, you're into the stomach. And again, you have this constant, if you're drinking on a daily basis, you're constantly getting that in there. And then your hepatocellular, your liver cancer, colorectal cancer, and most likely also with pancreatic cancer. Alcohol, when combined with tobacco smoking or excess body weight, can act synergistically to cause gastrointestinal cancer. And that's very, very concerning. It just goes to show you that a lot of things we see in the general public out there are lifestyle caused. A lot of chronic disease is caused by lifestyle choices. And so that the flip side of that, the really good side of that, is that we have control over that, right? We can change those things. We just have to exert our will and decide to do that. Alcohol in the lungs. Alcoholic lung disease is an umbrella term that covers the various lung problems caused by repeated alcohol use. Over time, alcohol abuse affects the body system and central nervous system, putting the person at a higher risk of disease. Related to the lungs, this can include inflammation, infections, asthma, and more. In severe cases, alcoholic lung disease can be fatal. The effects of alcohol may lead to respiratory depression or impair saliva production, which can contribute to a risk of infection and lung damage. And then health problems include, we talked about that, but here we go. However, the lung also is adversely affected by alcohol abuse, a fact often overlooked by clinicians and the public. I actually would never have thought of that until I read this. Individuals with alcohol use disorder are more likely to develop pneumonia, tuberculosis, respiratory syncytial virus, RSV infection, and acute respiratory distress syndrome. Increased susceptibility to these and other pulmonary infections is caused by impaired immune responses in people with alcohol use disorder. The key immune cells involved in combating pulmonary conditions such as pneumonia, tuberculosis, RSV, and ARDS are neutrophils, lymphocytes, alveolar macrophages, and the cells responsible for innate immune responses. Researchers are only now beginning to understand how alcohol affects these cells and how these effects contribute to the pathophysiology of pulmonary diseases in people with alcohol use disorder. Very, very important. So here we are, we've got people like drinking and not thinking anything of it on a regular basis, and then make sure they get their RSV shot and get their vaccines and all those kinds of things. You can really, again, impact your immune system for the better by staying away from or really moderating alcohol use. Alcohol in the neuromuscular system. So really, almost every system, I think every system is involved here, right? Alcohol-related myopathy. So this is, myo means muscle. Myo means muscle. Is one of the earliest alcohol-associated pathological tissue changes that is progressively exacerbated by cumulative long-term alcohol misuse. Acute and chronic alcohol use leads to changes in skeletal muscle mass and function. As discussed in this evidence-based review, alcohol-mediated mechanisms are multifactorial with effects on anabolic and catabolic signaling, mitochondrial, bioenergetics, the mitochondria, extracellular matrix remodeling, and epigenomic alteration. So actually changing epigenetically, making changes in our bodies. Alcohol-related myopathy. Alcohol affects muscle fibers, causing alcoholic myopathy. Drinking too much alcohol over time can weaken the muscles. We don't want, especially as we're getting older, because our muscles want to weaken anyway. This condition can be acute, affecting people for a short period of time before resolving, or chronic, lasting for a longer period of time. Up to 46%, trusted source, they're just telling you that came from a trusted source, of people with alcohol-related myopathy showed noticeable reductions in strength compared to people without the condition, and that's because you can click on that. Symptoms can include muscle weakness, decrease in muscle mass, also called muscle wasting, muscle cramps, stiffness, and spasms. Okay. In addition, about 40 to 60% of people who experience chronic alcohol misuse also experience alcohol-related myopathy. So going and working out at the gym, and then undoing it with, but most people who go and work out at the gym don't have alcohol use disorder. When we talk about this, we're talking more about alcohol's long-term effects on the muscles. Neuropathy. The term neuropathy refers to conditions that arise as a result of neurological injury or damage and the disrupted nerve signaling that results from such changes. Neuropathies may be caused by several different health issues, including excessive alcohol use. Alcohol neuropathy is one of the most common neurological complications of chronic alcohol use. Alcohol-related neuropathies can develop specifically due to alcohol's direct toxic effects on neurons, as well as in association with acquired nutritional deficiencies related to chronic alcohol use, yes, such as the B vitamins, such as magnesium. Estimates indicate that up to 66% of people who have chronic alcohol use disorder experience some form of alcoholic neuropathy. The condition tends to affect the lower legs. Symptoms such as pain, paresthesias, burning or prickling sensations that feel like pins and needles, ataxia, poor muscle control. Treatment of this condition centers around stopping continued drinking. With abstinence for several months to years, complete remission of the condition and a full regain of function is possible. This is the good news, and we're going to get a little bit more into that in a couple of seconds. Pancreatitis, we talked about that. How does alcohol affect blood sugar levels in diabetes? Alcohol consumption can affect blood sugar levels. Like if you have diabetes already, alcohol in the bones, alcohol consumption during adolescence reduces peak bone mass and can result in relatively weak adult bones that are more susceptible to fracture. In adults, alcohol consumption can disrupt the ongoing balance between the erosion and the remodeling of bone tissue, contributing to alcoholic bone disease. The imbalance results in part from alcohol-induced inhibition of the osteoblasts, which build bone, specialized cells that deposit new bones. Some new evidence suggests that moderate drinking may decrease the risk of fracture in postmenopausal women. So there again, you have some contradictory, again, science. Alcohol use in pregnancy, most of us would just know, anybody listening to this with me, certainly knows that as a depressant and psychoactive drug that slows the brain and central nervous system and affects mood and mental processes. Once in the bloodstream, it can be carried through the umbilical cord and across the placenta, where it impacts the fetus, robbing it of nutrients and affecting its developing brain. That is really cruelty to your developing child. Just stop drinking when you're pregnant. Women who drink risk miscarriage, stillbirth, or delivery of a baby with fetal alcohol spectrum disorder. Condemns a child to lifelong problems, including learning disabilities, mood and sleep disorders, behavioral issues, language and speech delays, poor memory, coordination difficulties, even physical abnormalities, including shortened height, low body weight, and changed facial features. Stay off all alcohol if you are pregnant. So the good news, according to Greek mythology, Zeus punished Prometheus for giving fire to humans. He chained Prometheus up and set an eagle to feast on his liver. Each night, the liver grew back, and each day, the eagle returned for his feast. In reality, can a liver really grow back? Natural recovery by the liver and other organs after chronic alcohol use. Experts reveal what happens to your liver when you quit alcohol. So, to answer the question posed by the myth of Prometheus, the liver has an amazing power to repair itself after it has been damaged, but it cannot grow back as new if it was already severely scarred. But listen to this, if you stop drinking and you only have a fatty liver, it can quickly turn back to normal in 3 to 4 weeks. If you had a scarred liver, cirrhosis to start with, stopping alcohol will allow some healing and improved function, but can't undo all the damage that has already been done. If you want to look after your liver, drink in moderation and have 2 to 3 alcohol-free days each week. That way you won't have to rely on your liver's magical self-healing power to stay healthy, was the advice there. And then I say, to be fair, what about all of the health benefits of red wine and even spirits that can be found in the literature? Red wine and consumption and cardiovascular health. Says the mechanisms responsible for its putative cardioprotective effects would include changes in lipid profiles, because it raises your HDL. Production of insulin resistance and decrease in oxidative stress or of low-density lipoprotein cholesterol. The aim of this review is to summarize the accumulated evidence correlating moderate red wine consumption with prevention of cardiovascular heart disease by focusing on the different mechanisms underlying this relationship. Furthermore, the chemistry of wine, as well as the chemical factors that influence the composition of the bioactive components of red wine, are also discussed. So we have that. And then this is really interesting. Mechanisms of cardioprotection by resveratrol, a phenolic antioxidant present in wine, phenolic antioxidant. Of course, you can get your red wine. I mean, you can get your resveratrol in a capsule. You can get resveratrol other ways. But again, this is in support of all of that. It says, we will summarize first the published data showing an inverse association between consumption of alcoholic beverages, red wine, and risk of cardiovascular heart disease. A review of biosynthesis of resveratrol and its presence in food groups and wines will follow. Recent studies relating exposure to wine resveratrol with reduction in myocardial damage during ischemia reperfusion, modulation of vascular cell functions, inhibition of LDL oxidation, and a suppression of platelet aggregation will be presented. Okay, so the last section of this review will focus on a discussion of mechanisms by which resveratrol acts as a potential cardioprotective agent. And this is a thing that came up on WebMD. Surprising ways alcohol may be good for you. So know your limits before you start a petition to replace the office water cooler with a beer keg. Let's be clear. Alcohol is only healthy in smaller amounts, about 1 drink a day for women. 2 for men. That's after that, the benefits get hazier and the risks increase. Helps your heart, it says here. And if you're in good shape, moderate drinking makes you 25 to 40% less likely to have a heart attack, stroke, or hardened arteries. This may be in part because of the small amounts of alcohol can raise your HDL, blah, blah, blah. Heavy drinking, on the other hand, boosts your risk of heart disease. Moderate drinkers are far more likely to exercise than people who don't drink, and they may even get more healthy effects from it. On the flip side, the more you exercise, the more likely you are to drink now and then. Scientists don't know exactly where this link comes from. Prevents kidney stones. Regular moderate drinkers are less likely to get kidney stones, 41% less likely for those who drink beer, 33% for wine drinkers. Part of the reason may be that alcohol, like caffeine and coffee and tea, makes you pee more often than helps you clear out the tiny crystals that form stones. Drink too much, though, and you get dehydrated, and that increases your risk of kidney stones along with other health problems. So again, make your own decisions based on your health and your habits and all of that. Makes you more social, but don't overdo it. Happy hour kind of thing. Good for your sex life. Again, that could go the wrong way if you do too much. And then help your brain. A drink or two a few times a day may make you less likely to get Alzheimer's. We talked about that. Moderate drinking may also reduce the risk of stroke and heart disease, both of which speed up, but again, conflicting things there. Wine with dinner may make you less likely to develop type 2 diabetes. Scientists aren't exactly sure why, but it might be that a drink or two helps your body deal with high blood sugar levels in a healthy way. So, again, you've got to take information as it is and make your own decisions based on what you think works best for you. It says here, this was a study here. This was really cool. This paper here. More evidence moderate drinking is good for your heart. Also the reason. So I'm going to go back here and just read that when they get to the reason. Yet while light moderate drinkers lowered their risk for cardiovascular disease, the study also showed that any amount of alcohol increases the risk of cancer. And at higher amounts of alcohol consumption, more than 14 drinks a week, heart attack risks started to increase while overall brain activity started to decrease, which may be associated with adverse cognitive health. The authors concluded that research should focus on finding new interventions that reduce the brain's stress activity without the deleterious effects of alcohol. The research team is currently studying the effect of exercise stress reduction interventions such as meditation and pharmacological therapies on stress-associated neural networks and how they might induce cardiovascular effects, because what they found here was that the they showed the stress signaling in the amygdala, right? So the amygdala is that part of the brain that has to do with the fight or flight. And so the amygdala, I have a herbal formula called taming the amygdala to bring that down and to stop anxiety and that kind of thing. So they found that moderate drinkers had more reduced stress signaling in the amygdala. So a lot of times people will drink because of stress and because it does make them calm down and feel less anxiety. So that they then found a trickle down effect. When the amygdala is too alert and vigilant, the sympathetic nervous system is heightened, which drives up blood pressure and increases heart rate and triggers the release of inflammatory cells. If the stress is chronic, the result is hypertension, increased inflammation, and a substantial risk of obesity, diabetes, and cardiovascular disease. So here they're saying that they're going with the mild, moderate alcohol consumption with having a positive effect on the cardiovascular system because of its bringing down the stress response in the amygdala. So very intricate, and there's a lot to be said here. Again, not just the resveratrol in red wine, but alcohol itself and its effect on lowering stress signaling in the amygdala, and then the effect that has on your cardiovascular system, relaxing it, if you will. A lot of times when people are drinking, they're self-medicating. And if you know that you're doing that for that, wow, that's what I'm doing. Like people will like overeat carbohydrates, right, when they're stressed because they're getting that serotonin boost. So if you know what you're doing and how you're self-medicating, then you can put other things in there so that you can not need to self-medicate with alcohol, which is a substance that carries with it other health risks. Okay, alcohol use guidelines. This is basically according to the CDC or whatever standard drink size, and kind of get that there. And then I thought this was interesting as we wrap up. The states that drink the most alcohol in America per capita. I found this map, and there's New Hampshire. Nevada is even less, where we've got, Las Vegas. But then I happened to think about and found this. In New Hampshire, we have no sales tax on alcohol at the liquor stores, right? So, or if you're buying anything in the grocery store. So we have no sales tax. So we get a lot of shoppers from Maine and Vermont and Massachusetts. So I don't think we're just all, we're just like the highest. Like there's only two purple ones on the whole entire map, and the other one is Delaware. However, in New Hampshire, both excessive drinking rate and the share of impaired driving deaths are slightly higher than the corresponding national figures. Statewide, 18.9% of all adults drink excessively compared to 18% nationwide. Also, 32.9% of driving deaths in the state involve alcohol compared with 31% nationwide. Anyway, now, mocktails are becoming kind of all the rage. There's a lot of people deciding not to drink, and especially in the younger age groups. I think they're saying the Gen Z generation or even millennials, but just people just saying, we just don't drink. That's not our thing. And so mocktails are very, very popular. You can, if you're going out to eat, almost any good restaurant is going to have some good selections or can mix something up for you if you ask for it. This is a really great, cool page with 40 easy, beautiful, and seriously delicious mocktail recipes that everybody will love. So mocktail, of course, it's the adult Shirley Temple idea. And then Harry and David's, which a lot of people use. I just saw they've got kits. We've got these really cool kits. So say you're going to have a ladies' night or something like that, and you want to do something special, or what do they have here? Whoops, they got all kinds of, I got all these things popping up. Hang on. Hide for now. Go away. Espresso mocktails, espresso martini kit. So say you want to do something really fun for a party over the holidays or whatever, you can, there's all kinds of businesses catering to that right now. The Aplos collection is really nice. We've had some of these at home. So the Aplos are non-alcoholic spirits and cocktails infused with natural botanicals like hemp and adaptogens for soothing and uplifting sensations. So for instance, this one, a complex blend of citrus and herbal botanicals is infused with broad spectrum hemp to calm and relax without the negative effects of alcohol. Those taste delicious. And then you can also get like these that are already in a can. You can buy them like, in multiple amounts, the chili margarita, Then the Spritz is crafted for moments of unwind. Each serving is infused with 20 milligrams of broad spectrum hemp for a naturally calming and uplifting effect. Pour over ice or sip from a chilled can and liberate yourself from usefulness, to become useless. No empty calories, functional ingredients. I like that. And then what else do they put? Organically grown. So that's a really good thing there. And then you've got these like in Guinness, like all of the a lot of these companies are coming out with this because there's become a great demand for non-alcohol containing things so people can enjoy the taste. And I didn't put any wines up there because any non-alcoholic wine I've ever tasted just tastes like horrible grape juice. Blah. So, I'd just rather do without. I did, especially during the summer, get at the co-op here, like Athletic Brewing Company makes IPAs. And there's another company that does, there are people that do, and just taste, I mean, honestly, you really wouldn't know by the quality of the taste that you weren't drinking a really good quality IPA. So anyway, just round that out with, you don't have to not have something really fun and festive during the holidays or anytime. And there are many, just get creative and you can really enjoy some things and not, and one thing I find about with wine for me, and I think for most people, wine more than other alcohol, it makes you sleepy. And I like to get a lot done. So I like to be alert my every waking moment and then sleep well when I sleep. And so I'm just going to stay this way. I'm going to be a teetotaler for the rest of my life as far as I'm concerned. That's what I'll do. But it's up to you. Just be aware. And just another aspect of the things we do and their impact on our health. So anyway, let me stop my share for a minute while I get ready to say goodbye. I hope you found this. Oh yeah, so Susan was saying, yeah, there's no sales tax in Delaware either. So that's the reason that we're the big drinkers. We're getting all of our bordering states coming across the border to run their liquor runs. So that makes sense. All right, so I've got several cool things I want to talk about next week. I'm not sure. I might, I don't know. I'm not going to tell. One of the things is fasting. And I was forced into a fast due to a really strange thing that happened to me for a few days, a few weeks ago. And the effects were quite amazing to me. And I got to tell you the story surrounding that. So maybe I'll do that next week, but then I want to really get into the whole mechanisms of fasting and different ways to fast and all of that kind of stuff. I want to talk about weight loss. There's a new, it's not a new book, but there's a method of weight loss that I've found is working really well for some of my clients. So I know that's always a big topic that people are interested in. So what else? Oh, there's always something. I know there's other things in my mind, but I'm not going to keep you while I think because I'm already, because of my kerfuffle at the beginning and losing all that time, I've kept you past time. So have a wonderful weekend. I hope you're enjoying this holiday season. Relax. Don't just get out of too many obligations and don't put too much on your plate and just enjoy the season. And I hope you have a great, again, weekend, a good week. And I'll be back next week with more. Thanks for being with me again, all of you. And I always enjoy seeing you. I feel like I'm with my friends every Saturday. So take care and be well.